In the last video, I forgot about Lucia and the light LOD's entries, and also Hanas told me that the version of his entry I was covering in that video was actually outdated, so I'll be covering these three in this video. Lucia's entry is the TTT attempt 01, and it costs 4,012 materials, meaning that 2 of them can be spawned in. It is 7 meters long by 7 meters wide by 2 meters tall. It's pretty heavily armored because of all this reinforced wood. It's armed with this really fancy 236mm advanced cannon firing HESH rounds at 12.8 rounds per minute. Its turret is actually really big. This entire top part of the tank is the turret. Its AI is set up with a tank broadside AI routine with all default settings. The light LOD's entry consists of the Panther, the Panzer II, and the Panzer IV-H. They cost 3,808 materials, 1,264 materials, and 2,456 materials respectively, and he has told me to spawn in 1 Panther, 1 Panzer II, and 2 Panzer IVs. The Panther is 7 meters long by 5 meters wide by 3.5 meters tall, though it's quite a bit longer than that because it's got this bit at the back, which is made entirely out of plates, so it doesn't count as being part of the hull. It's got this pretty cool looking turret which has a mimicked gun mantlet and another mimic which covers a chair to create this cupola. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. The thing the commander sees through. This turret houses a 250mm advanced cannon which fires frag rounds at 7.1 rounds per minute. The Panzer II is 7 meters long by 5 meters wide by 2.5 meters tall, and it's armed with a 30mm advanced cannon which fires pure AP rounds at 34 rounds per minute. The Panzer IV-H is 7 meters long by 4 meters wide by 2.5 meters tall. It's 4 meters wide since these floating side bits are made entirely out of plates, so they don't count as part of the hull and instead count as part of the tracks, and these applique panels on either side add an extra 1 meter to the width of the tank. It's got this really flat turret with metal plates on the side acting as spaced armor, and what I think is a mimicked muzzle brake, which is acting as a cupola. And it is armed with a 150mm advanced cannon firing inertial frag rounds at 11.3 rounds per minute. The Panzer IV is set up to broadside the enemy at an angle of 25 degrees and between the range of 350 meters and 450 meters. The Panzer II is set up to broadside the enemy, but at a distance of 75 degrees instead, and between the ranges of 150 meters and 300 meters. And the Panther is also set up to broadside the enemy at an angle of 75 degrees, and between the ranges of 450 and 550 meters. Hanas 1977's updated entry consists of the AMX 250 Gros Canon, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, probably didn't, and the AML Magnetique. I definitely didn't pronounce that right. The AMX 250 costs 1,622 materials, and the AML Magnetique, I give up. I'm just going to call it the AML and the AMX respectively. Costs 1,688 materials, meaning that the deployment is still the same with 2 AMXs and 4 AMLs. Both of them are still basically the same as the previous versions, except for some minor changes like the color of the paint and this turret ring here. So it's still the same size, coming in at 6 meters by 5 meters by 3 meters. And the gun is also the same as before, a 250mm advanced cannon firing these massive HE shells at 1.9 rounds per minute. The AML is, I think, the exact same as the previous version, just with a slightly different colored paint. The main difference is in the AI. The AML is now set up to broadside at -90 or +90 degrees, depending on which variant it is, and between the distances of 450 meters and 475 meters. The AMX still has the same AI, broadsiding using both sides at 333 meters.